Change. I'm Laura Hedlund, a student of permaculture, and I have my first hazelnuts in my yard. We actually harvested hazelnuts. We planted these hazelnuts like 6 years ago, and we've been waiting patiently, and now I'm holding hazelnuts in my hand right now. I'm also a food patriot to the natural world. I know they've figured out the genome of the wheat, but I think we also want to just know that life is far more complex than we could ever analyze it in a simple box. But I'm also a somewhat lazy cook, sometimes at least. And behind the scenes is Hunter. Good morning, Hunter.
Good morning.
So is summer waning and fall is on its rise?
Yeah, I'm counting down the days. I don't want summer to end. I want these days to be really long and drag them out.
I do too. But we do have the state fair coming up. Are you a fan of the fair?
Oh, yeah, big fan.
I'm a big fan of the fair. And we're thrilled to have in studio with us. And we are live. So if this is a great time to call in, I've been doing some pre-tape shows. We are live. So the live call-in number is 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. Would love to hear from you. And we're going to be talking about the State Fair and the Minnesota Eats exhibit. And with us is the coordinator of Common Table, Anna Waugh. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. And you're also a new
for
mother.
having me. Yes, I am.
How old is your baby?
6 weeks.
Woohoo! You have a 6-week-old baby and you decided to coordinate the Common Table at the Minnesota State Fair.
Yep. It's been a fun adventure this summer.
Yeah.
But thankfully we have a lot of really great groups that we're working with, and so it makes my life pretty easy.
Great. So, okay, what is happening at the Minnesota State Fair?
Well, the Common Table has put together an exhibit, and we've presented for the last 4 years the Minnesota Eats exhibit at the Horticulture building. And the exhibit really strives to encourage fairgoers to think about food differently. So the fair, of course, is all about food. And at the Minnesota Eats building, or Minnesota Eats wing of the Horticulture building, we're really hoping to encourage fairgoers to think about where their food is coming from and the impact that food is having both on our communities and on the environment.
Right, and of course at the State Fair, that is a horticultural-based community. It's the center. It has a long, rich history, and bringing out this sort of or returning to organic farming and local foods and pollinators, and getting that information in the public sphere.
Absolutely, and one of the things that we've really worked toward is to make the exhibit really engaging through design. So the exhibit came together through a collaboration between designers and local food groups, from nonprofits to farmers to restaurateurs. And the idea is to give people some quick snippets throughout the exhibit to think about ways that they can take easy steps to change how they're thinking about food and also how they're acting toward that food. So we have 6 actions that we've highlighted throughout the exhibit. Things like nurturing healthy soil. How can you do that in your own home? How can you do that for the community by choosing foods that are coexist with maybe some native plants? We're encouraging people to eat locally, both at restaurants and when they're choosing food at the grocery store. Thinking about how you even go shopping. And then also thinking about what do we do with our food once it's in the kitchen? How do we reduce waste? Because, so much food, a third of the food in this country is wasted.
And it's such a shame, and especially it's not just wasting. I mean, you're wasting water, you're wasting soil, you're wasting life. These are very complex issues, and it's wonderful to have it in a place like the State Fair. And joining us by phone right now is someone with a very fun title. His title is the Director of the Center of Pollinators and Energy with Fresh Energy, Rob Davis. So welcome to Food Freedom Radio, Rob.
Thank you. So good to be with you this morning, and just thrilled to be participating in the Minnesota Eats exhibit in the Horticulture building this year at the State Fair.
Great. So tell us a little bit about the Center for Pollinators and Energy.
Well, it stacks a couple of very unlikely things together, really. And what we're doing is we're going out to solar companies, so energy companies that are leasing land from farmers and providing, practical insights and advice and guidance for them on how to establish perennial, low-growing, and flowering meadows over the acres of solar panel sites throughout Minnesota and other places in the country. So the land
Well,
underneath
don't you think we
and
should just
around.
use Roundup and grass under all that solar panels?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, I guess, when you realize how many benefits you could stack under and around a solar panel. I mean, the panels are a really good financing vehicle for incredibly high quality pollinator habitat. And of course, you guys know that like pollinator habitat is enriching the soil. It's really good for water. It's, reducing stormwater. There's just so many good things for agriculture that come as a result of just thinking a little bit differently and not doing gravel or turf grass, which we really don't need more of, right?
Well, no, and the environmental problems today, now. I mean, red tie in Florida that's on the cover of the Star Tribune today. The flooding in India, the fires. We are having an air quality alert here in the Twin Cities. All of these environmental issues can feel so incredibly overwhelming. And one of the things that seems to balance out that overwhelmingness for me is to know that we can, just as we've been this negative to the natural world, we can change that relationship. And that's what,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's really a hopeful section that we have in within the overall exhibit, but it's all about co-location of solar arrays and these large scale meadows, flowering meadows that really provide urgently needed habitat, not just for the pollinators that help our food, that pollinate our crops, but also for the wildlife that we love, the monarchs, the grassland birds, the game birds. So all of these species are at risk and urgently need more acres of healthy habitat.
So, as the amount of prairie left is really also a very tragic story. I mean, I think it's like 1% of prairie. Do you know that?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's less than 1% of Minnesota's remaining grassland prairie. And and then similarly, the CRP program, the Conservation Reserve Program, is down more than 10 million acres from its high just maybe 15 or 20 years ago. So there needs to be places to protect and provide a healthy habitat for these species, because not just because we love them out in nature, but also the state fair. The state fair is a lot about food. And, all of the state fair foods that we love actually have, are dependent on pollinators. You wouldn't have Sweet Martha's cookies without, insects pollinating chocolate. You wouldn't have glasses of milk without those cattle eating alfalfa, which is a pollinator dependent crop. So, whether it's the foods we eat or the foods that our animals eat, we all depend on pollinators, and we have to keep them alive and keep their populations healthy and strong.
So, and we're talking to Rob Davis with Fresh Energy. He's the director of the Center for Pollinators and Energy, and you're at the Common Table exhibit. So, what will you be doing at the Common Table exhibit?
Yeah, we have a series of educational displays all about the connection between state fair foods and pollinators, and then also materials and information about how large-scale solar sites can provide urgently needed acres of healthy flowering landscapes for these species, but then also has some information about the water and soil benefits of a solar site. So Minnesota is a national leader in developing pollinator-friendly solar sites. This is a standard and a term that's backed up by some of our most experienced and acclaimed entomologists, including Dr. Marla Spivak. So we'll be really providing a lot more information to Minnesotans about how these solar sites can provide even more local benefits to the community.
Are there places people can go see these pollinator-friendly solar sites?
Well, you can certainly visit Fresh Energy's website at fresh-energy.org/beeslovesolar. And I've got a bunch of different videos and presentations we've done with the National Conservation Training Service and International Society of Sustainability Professionals. But there's a lot of solar sites just out there in the communities, particularly around the metro area, in the 7-county metro area. And some solar sites are pollinator friendly, some are not. So, there is a list of where you can find a pollinator friendly solar array and drive by it and take a look at it. But easiest to see pictures. Yeah.
Rob, do you have tips on how people can eat in a way that's friendly for pollinators? Foods?
Yeah, we do have a great exhibit as part of the Minnesota Eats exhibition, all about the connection between state fair foods and pollinators, and actually the number of visits that a given crop needs to produce a marketable fruit. So, apples don't just end up perfect and beautiful and huge by accident. It's the result of millions and millions of visits by pollinators.
So we live in an interdependent world.
That's exactly right. When we just did the math a couple of weeks ago, looking at Minnesota's 2017 apple harvest, that harvest, an average harvest, needed between 130 and 200 million individual visits by bees to flowers during the 3-week or 5-week series period of the time when the apple flowers were blooming.
That's phenomenal. And then we have chemicals like Roundup that have been really causing problems for the pollinators. So how we switch this, how we make that switch is so critical. You're listening to Food Freedom Radio on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. We're live. Time for your call, 952-946-6205.
It's grilling season, and Vinaigrette has some sizzling recipes to inspire you. How about summertime grilled fajitas? Just create a marinade with our golden balsamic or champagne vinegar and chili, garlic, or jalapeno olive oil and marinade beef or chicken. Add red onions, red, green, and yellow peppers and throw them on the grill. Or try grilled steak brushed with our truffle or garlic olive oil. Visit us at 50th and Xerxes in South Minneapolis and 287 Water Street in downtown Excelsior, or online at vinaigrettemn.com.
It's summertime and the neighborhood is full of activity. Blue Sky Services offers power washing and soft washing for home siding, composite decks, walkways, roofs, and more. They will have your home sparkling like new without damaging your exterior, landscape, or yard. Call 651-447-4484 to take advantage of the final sale before the fall. This month only. Get an early start with Blue Sky's August sale prices and keep your house looking healthy while adding value to your home. Call 651-447-4484. That's Blue Sky Services at 651-447-4484.
Hi, this is Laura with Food Freedom Radio, and we're going to be at the Minnesota State Fair in the Minnesota Eats exhibit on most days of the fair from 3 to 5. We'd love for you to stop by and say hi. Also, we want to collect lazy good food recipes. What are lazy good food recipes? Well, I don't really know, because what's lazy and good for me is a little different than what's lazy and good for you. But we have to figure out what is good for the planet, what's good for water, what's good for soil, what's good for pollinators, what's good for animals, what's good for equity. And let's do it in a way that's fun and healthy and nourishing. So listen to Food Freedom Radio on AM 950 on Saturdays at 8 a.m. or stop by the Minnesota State Fair at the Minnesota Eats exhibit at the Horticulture Building. Also, if you have a favorite way of cooking, let us know at foodfreedomradio.com.
Seward Co-op, serving the community for nearly 45 years, invites you to shop their 2 convenient locations, both offering the strong commitment to local producers and healthy foods you've come to expect. Seward focuses on locally grown and raised products, fair trade, and environmental sustainability. Shop their selection of meats, artisan cheeses, and house-made baked goods. Find Seward at 2823 East Franklin Avenue or the Friendship Store on 38th Street and 3rd Avenue in Minneapolis. More at seward.coop.
Hi, this is Paul Metza inviting you to listen to the Wall of Power Radio Hour every weekend on AM 950. We are now in our 3rd year of broadcasting on the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. MinnPost has called us one of the 22 most independently entertaining and cool radio shows in the Twin Cities. We feature cool people from all walks of life and from all 50 states every Saturday at 6 p.m., replayed Sunday at 4 p.m. on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota.
Laura Headland, and you're live. The live call-in number is 952-946-6205, and we are talking about the State Fair. In studio with us is Anna Waugh, and she's the coordinator at the Common Table. So set the stage for us. Where is this located at the State Fair?
Sure. So it is one of the wings of the Horticulture building, which is just on the southeast side of the fair. So as you come in through the main entrance off of Snelling, take a left, and it's the big building with the spokes where you can also see the giant pumpkin.
That's it. It's the building with the giant pumpkins.
The giant pumpkins and also the craft beer. So stop by, grab a beer, and then and then come over and learn something about sustainable foods.
And so, it's a beautiful collaboration of a lot of different groups. And joining us right now is Lynn from Spark Y. Lynn Howe, you're the communication outreach for Spark Y.
Hello.
Hi, welcome to Food Freedom Radio, Lynn.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so tell our listeners again about what is Spark Y?
Yeah, so Spark Y is a nonprofit. We're based in Minneapolis. We are rooted in hands-on education, in sustainability and entrepreneurship, and our big mission is youth empowerment. So we do this through three programs, or three branches of our organization. That's through our school programs, an annual summer internship, and an urban agriculture lab. And I can talk more about these kind of as we go. But those are our three main branches of the organization.
Great. And so what will you be doing at the State Fair?
Yeah, so we're really excited to be there again this year. We'll have two ongoing workshops that are kind of some of the flagstones of our teaching tools and how we really walk the walk of sustainability. One will be vermicomposting. It's similar to traditional composting, but it uses worms as a way to decompose the matter. And we will also be using a mini kit for an aquaponic system, which is a way of growing produce using a closed system of fish and plants.
So when it's a mini system, does this mean it's for a household level?
Yeah, I guess anybody could set one up right in their home, as long as you have a fish tank and some of the required ingredients, which are just a grow media tray and a pump. But it's really pretty simple to set up. Actually, this summer, we helped teach middle schoolers how to set some up, and they were able to do it on their own.
So, Anna, why let the public know about organizations like Spark Y at a place like the State Fair?
Yeah, well, one of the main things that we talked about when we were putting the exhibit together was that we really wanted to make sure that we were giving voices to all, a diversity of groups and people who are working with lots of who are working with lots of people from communities around the metro and also around the state. And groups like Spark Y are doing such cool work, and probably wouldn't necessarily have the time or a platform to be at the fair in one of the other buildings. So we thought, let's talk to a lot of groups. So we have a lot of startups, we have a lot of small restaurants, people who probably couldn't be at the fair for all 12 days,
right.
But are able to, put in a few hours here and there in the building, as a part of the Minnesota Eats exhibit. And so we really want to give voice to people who, and people in groups who are doing such good work in our community.
And Lynn, why is that voice important? Why do you want to share your story?
Yeah, so I guess sustainability means something different for everyone. But for me, I like to integrate all of my experience into really being able to empower our visitors and the youth that we serve. So my mission personally is to really help the most vulnerable populations, and I like to bring that lens into the work that I do, and being able to engage visitors and show them the comprehensive and more holistic side of sustainability, to show them that it doesn't just mean preserving our environment. We talk a lot about the 5 E's of sustainability. The other 4 E's, in addition to environment, are economic, equity, empowerment, and education. Without all of those, you won't be able to have a truly successful view of sustainability. So being able to reach a lot of visitors at the State Fair is a huge way that we can really quickly tell everyone about kind of this comprehensive view that we have.
Yeah, and one of the things, too, is we food injustice is such a big issue. We know, even though we have one of the richest countries in the world, millions of Americans are suffering from either from not having enough food or not having access to healthy food. And right here in the Twin Cities, we have areas that are food deserts where people can't access fresh fruits and vegetables, and things are improving. But we really wanted to use the exhibit as a way to empower people to learn about how to get access to that food in a potentially inexpensive way, and also to learn more about food through growing their own.
And I want to put this in context because there's been some the major story, Roundup got sued, and if anyone wants to listen to the show we did on that was on in July. We did it with on July 21st. We had a show with the lawyer for that case, and Pat Kerrigan with the Organic Consumers Association. But our food system right now is dependent on pesticides and fertilizers, which harm the water. And so the potential is to go from a food system that harms people to one that can heal. Is that the hope and vision behind all of this activity?
Yeah, I think so. And I think also, it's important too to think about how are we moving toward that system in a way that's positive. I think there's, the historical reasons for how we ended up with the food system that we have, in some ways came out of a good place, trying to feed a lot of people with fewer resources. But it's also it's taken over a lot of our land, and it's not necessarily the way, it's not a choice that everyone has to make.
Right. And Rob, you're still on the line. We've got about another minute. So did you want to comment on, I guess we're getting waved by Hunter. So, so do you want to comment on that, Lynn?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one powerful way that we really embody the work of sustainability is showing people a tangible way that we can address these huge global issues in a very localized way, by doing our school programs and showing our youth that they can create and build their own aquaponic system. And then in some of our most successful models, we've been able to create a a garden to cafeteria model where students grow all of the produce and they're able to serve it right there in their cafeteria.
And how do the kids really respond to that? That's really cool. How do the kids respond to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think overall, a lot of students might not be able to wrap their mind around being able to grow their own food, especially in such an urban setting where they don't have that kind of exposure. But when we're able to provide that clarity in the classroom, they're able to see the entire system of growing something from scratch and then being able to serve it and prepare it, and then seeing how that whole system is very closed and open to the environment.
And Lynn, one thing I really love about the aquaponics that you're doing is that it's a way to grow food year-round in Minnesota.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's also huge for our students to be able to see, and also even for our younger kiddos, just something great that they can interact with.
So you're listening to Food Freedom Radio on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. We're talking about the Minnesota State Fair and the Minnesota Eats exhibit. Also, Food Freedom Radio is going to be there with some lazy good food recipes, and we're asking you for help with the lazy food good recipes. So we'll be taking a break, and we'll be back.
So far across the sea.
Hi, Sarah from Vinaigrette. Farmers markets are everywhere and summer's bounty is limitless. Try a rustic caprese salad using spring mix, fresh mozzarella, grape with cherry tomatoes, red onion, fresh basil, garlic olive oil, and our 18-year aged balsamic. Or try grilled romaine brushed with Tunisian olive oil. Vinaigrette makes it easy to love your vegetables. Visit us at 50th and Xerxes in South Minneapolis or 287 Water Street in downtown Excelsior. Online at vinaigrettemn.com.
Victor's 1959 Cafe in South Minneapolis is a locally owned and operated restaurant offering traditional Cuban food. Open for breakfast and lunch daily with dinner Tuesday through Saturday. For night shift workers, Victor's even has both a morning and evening happy hour, and Victor's now accepts dinner reservations too. Stop in and try some delicious authentic Cuban cuisine like ropa vieja and seafood paella. Make your reservation and learn more at victors1959cafe.com. Victor's 1959 Cafe, revolutionary Cuban cooking.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950, here to tell you about Snap Construction. They're experts in roofing, siding, window, and insurance restoration. They have energy-efficient products available for both residential and commercial properties. This spring, when we needed a company to take a look at a problem with our roof, I called the company I knew I could trust, Snap Construction. I've known Ryan, the owner at Snap Construction, for years, so I knew I could trust him. Don't just take my word for it. Check out their reviews online. They are arguably the most well-reviewed exterior contractor online in the metro area. Over the years, Ryan has always said the same thing to me about his work. If we build it, shouldn't we be held accountable for the work indefinitely? He backed that statement up years ago when Snap Construction was a pioneer in offering a lifetime craftsmanship guarantee on all their work. For a free estimate or general questions, call the locally owned company AM 950 Trust, Snap Construction at 612-333-SNAP. That's 612-333-SNAP, or find them online at snapconstruction.com. They have financing options available.
Preventative measures, including annual mammograms and screenings, all contribute to early breast cancer detection. Call your doctor today and schedule an exam for a healthier tomorrow. A health tip courtesy of the folks who care at Home Depot Plymouth, reminding you that Minneapolis is a great place to live, and they're doing their part to keep it that way. That's Home Depot Plymouth, on the air working for a healthier and better community for you and your entire family.
Hi, I'm Dr. Scott Shambot from Shambot Family Dentistry. We're the fear-free, get-you-out-of-pain-now dental office. We always offer a free exam and x-rays for new patients because we believe you shouldn't have to pay to find out what's wrong with your teeth. Call today. We're open early and late and Saturdays to fit your schedule. As my daughter Rachel says,
if you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth because they're the only ones you get. Call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH or visit fixmyteeth.us.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Hunter Haas. Today, patchy smoke, mostly sunny with a high near 86. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 65. And Sunday, mostly sunny with a high near 85. This week's EatLocalMinnesota.com restaurant of the week is The Great Wall. Just north of 50th and France in Edina, the Great Wall restaurant has been providing a delicious taste of authentic Chinese cuisine since 1981. Find out more at EatLocalMinnesota.com.
Welcome back to Food Freedom Radio. Dear Prudence, can we learn to be prudent with the natural world? Can we have respect for the natural world? Can we change the food system to one that adds toxicity to one that helps pollinators and create something more sane and more kind? And there is a display at the Minnesota State Fair in the Agriculture Building put on by the Common Table, and it is and that's what we're talking about today. And with us in studio is Anna Waugh. So hi, Anna.
Hi.
Hi. So we were talking. Also, your baby's 7 weeks old.
Yeah.
And that's so exciting. And does that make this work even more urgent when you're sitting there and you I mean, we have again the fire, so many issues.
Absolutely. I mean, I think as a person who cares about the environment, it's scary when you hear about pretty much anything that's happening these days. There's an air quality alert today in Minnesota, and I was texting my husband on the way over here saying, keep the baby inside for the day. And I mean, that's scary. And you think about asthma and all of that. And so I think, any work that we can do to create a better world for tomorrow is really important. And it feels more urgent to me now than ever.
Right. So tell us about what people will see at the Minnesota Eats exhibit.
Sure. So it's a wing of the Horticulture building. There's going to be great performances there this year. We have a groups from across the metro area doing different displays. We have already talked with Rob from Fresh Energy and Lynn from Spark Y, but we're also going to have an exhibition of a straw bale garden, which is a giant vertical garden that shows you how you can use straw bales to plant all kinds of things like squash and even in very small spaces like a balcony. We'll also have
straw bale on your balcony.
Yep, you can have it on your balcony. You can have much larger displays in your backyard. But the cool thing about it is it's vertical, and so you're not using up as much. So you don't need as much space in soil as you would in other, as in a traditional garden. We'll also have a group from we'll have a collaboration of groups called Our Town, which is a collaboration of Project Sweetie Pie.
Yay,
and
we love Mike Janey. He's been on here several times.
Exactly, and a couple of other groups from the north side of Minneapolis who
Breaking, Appetite for Change.
Appetite for Change.
And they're going to be singing their song, Grow Food?
I believe so. So we have a really cool schedule. You can check it out on the State Fair's website, and it has all of the different
So how do people look at that schedule?
So you can go to the State Fair's website, and we will post it at the Common Table's Facebook page. So you can just search for Common Table Minnesota on Facebook, and we'll post the entire schedule there.
Great. And so, Lynn, do you want to talk about what Spark Wise could be doing at the exhibit?
Yes, absolutely. So 2 of our flagstone teaching tools are vermicomposting and aquaponics. These are 2 tangible ways that people can really contribute to sustainability on an individual level. So vermicomposting is similar to traditional composting, but it uses worms to break down organic matter, and the result is a more nutrient-rich soil due to the unique digestive enzymes in the worms themselves. In addition to that, we have aquaponics, which is a way that you can grow produce using a closed system of fish and plants. So the system that we will have at the State Fair is a mini system. So it's just a typical 10-gallon tank and a small grow bed on top. And we'll be talking about both of those systems.
Cool. I have fish tanks. So you can do this with your fish tank? Okay, so the fair, there's 6 areas of actions, and so buy local. Let's talk a little bit about that buying local.
Sure. So the bulk of the exhibit was put together in 2016 through a collaboration between designers from AIGA, which is a design network of graphic designers, copy editors, pretty much anyone from the design community. And we had 2 amazing women, Linda Henneman and Sandy, who collaborated with over 50 designers to think about really simple kind of, I don't want to say sound bites because it's visual, but little bites of information throughout the exhibit. So buy local, there's a big display about when different foods are ripe in Minnesota, so that when you're going to maybe a farmer's market or you sign up for a CSA, you might know what's going to be in your box that week.
Right.
We also collaborated with about a dozen restaurants just to think about which restaurants are really taking this call to action to heart and have highlighted them in the State Fair. I think a lot of, especially restaurants that are really using great local practices, may not have the opportunity to do work at the State Fair.
Right.
And so this was a way to kind of highlight their work in a way that people can, learn about those restaurants at the fair and then hopefully go and frequent them on their own time afterwards.
And so then the other ones are nurture soil is one of the other important aspects. And why is that important to nurture soil?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we mentioned earlier that less than 1% of the prairies are left in Minnesota. And prairies are really the reason that we have such great soil and why farming is available here. So for thousands and thousands of years, we had an ecosystem that included prairie, and those grasses are, the breakdown of those grasses over thousands of years is what made our soil in Minnesota so rich. Today, the typical farming practice breaks down soil much at a very fast rate. We have tilling, and it's also contributing to poor water quality in the Mississippi and Minnesota rivers. It's contributing to the dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico, because all of that soil is running off. And so, we're using the exhibit to teach people about the importance of soil, and thinking about how can we do things differently. So one of the things that Rob Davis was talking about earlier, planting native plants in solar fields, not only does that benefit pollinators, but it also benefits soil, because those grasses and those flowers that provide good food for pollinators also help to capture soil. So, there's a large scale issue with soil, which takes policy to effect, and then there's also things that people can do in their own homes to benefit soil.
I want to hear Aretha Franklin sing "Respect" some more, because it really is about respect for the reciprocal world. I mean, food nourishes us. Do we nourish food?
Right.
And how do we create those circles of respect? And in a nice public way like the state fair. I love it. And so another big part of this is to promote justice. And I know, Lynn, you were also talking. These are linked, justice and soil. Lynn, do you want to address that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the challenges of environmentalism and sustainability is really relating these larger global issues to vulnerable populations who might not have the privilege of thinking about such larger systems when they have more immediate needs. I know that's been a struggle for me just in my personal life, as I have worked with a lot of these populations in my work experience. But being able to address all of these issues in a way that is accessible to all audiences, and making sure that we are targeting the right populations who might be disproportionately affected by these changes that are going on in our environment. That's that environmental justice portion that we really
that is
to focus on.
That is so vital, because I think sometimes organic food is seen as elitist, and so the people who are fully experiencing the opportunity gap that we have in this world, I'm supposed to eat the Roundup stuff that causes brain damage, and the chlorpyrifos. How do we? That's just unkind. It's crazy.
Right. It's definitely a tough conversation to have. So just being able to frame that conversation around what types of ways are we really contributing to these systems, to these greater systems, and how can we make it so that everybody has a voice and everybody has a way to impact change in that system.
Right. We all have equal personal power. Everyone has equal personal power. So this display is about how we have our personal power to transform a food system.
Absolutely. I think that's absolutely vital at what we do.
Cool. And so the other thing is you want to take away for every age and interest, because this is a general audience. I mean, I'm eating my corn dogs. I'm going on rides. So, people are in their own little zone, but you want to have some little takeaways for every age.
Yeah. So one of the things that we've done in the exhibit is make it very visually appealing. So a lot of people we see taking selfies with, different parts of the exhibit, or, taking away a picture of something that they've learned. We also have a lot of hands-on, super hands-on ways to engage with the exhibit. So there's like a little kitchen where we see a lot of kids engaging with different, vegetables there. There's things at every eye level. So there's things for younger kids, as well as, ways that for older audiences as well, and of course the entire exhibit is accessible for anybody. So we want we want everyone to take something away from it.
Yeah, and one of the things, so I'll be there on some days. I'm Thursday, August 23rd, 3 to 5. I know I'll be there, and one of the things that I want to be is interviewing people on my cell phone and just asking them for their lazy good food recipes.
That's great.
And it sort of came up spontaneous, but so much of this, I got to eat organic, and this is hard. How do I cook? How do we make it easy and accessible? And so do you have lazy ways? You're a new mother?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the easiest things that I do is just go to the farmer's market and see what's there. And, sometimes there's like something pre-made even at the farmer's market, and that's really easy. And
there's all sorts of easy, lazy ways.
Usually very inexpensive too at the farmer's market. So that's my favorite thing.
So you're listening to Food Freedom Radio. We have one segment left and time for your calls. 952-946-6205.
Finding the best foods the Twin Cities has to offer is easy with eatlocalminnesota.com. Offering the top local and independently owned restaurants, eatlocalminnesota.com has everything from burger joints to cocktails and fine dining. Join the Seward Co-op Creamery Cafe for seasonal dishes using locally sourced ingredients, Minnesota craft beers, and organic wines on the new outdoor patio. Their delicious vegetarian, vegan, and omnivorous menu options are sure to satisfy. Sustaining a healthy community, find Seward Co-op Creamery Cafe at 2601 East Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis and online at coopcreamery.coop. The Bad Waitress at 700 Central in Northeast Minneapolis is a bit more grown up than its sister on Nicollet. The Northeast location's finer diner vibe offers craft cocktails from a full bar and an innovative new dinner menu. Still committed to supporting local purveyors and serving organic whenever possible. See the Northeast menu at thebadwaitress.com.
Hi, this is Laura with Food Freedom Radio, and we're going to be at the Minnesota State Fair in the Minnesota Eats exhibit on most days of the fair from 3 to 5. We'd love for you to stop by and say hi. Also, we want to collect lazy good food recipes. What are lazy good food recipes? Well, I don't really know, because what's lazy and good for me is a little different than what's lazy and good for you. But we have to figure out what is good for the planet, what's good for water, what's good for soil, what's good for pollinators, what's good for animals, what's good for equity. And let's do it in a way that's fun and healthy and nourishing. So listen to Food Freedom Radio on AM 950 on Saturdays at 8 a.m. or stop by the Minnesota State Fair at the Minnesota Eats exhibit at the Horticulture Building. Also, if you have a favorite way of cooking, let us know at foodfreedomradio.com.
I'm John Peterson, and at Ferndale Market, we are proud to provide our free-range turkey to local restaurants and natural food stores. One of our partners since the beginning has been Birchwood Cafe, and we're excited to announce a new partnership product, the Birchwood Turkey Burger Patty, made from their popular turkey burger recipe using our antibiotic-free turkey and Birchwood's local and organic ingredients. Put an end to bland turkey burgers. Find this and all our Ferndale turkey products at your local co-op or natural food store. Visit ferndalemarket.com.
Seward Co-op, serving the community for nearly 45 years, invites you to shop their two convenient locations, both offering the strong commitment to local producers and healthy foods you've come to expect. Seward focuses on locally grown and raised products, fair trade, and environmental sustainability. Shop their selection of meats, artisan cheeses, and house-made baked goods. Find Seward at 2823 East Franklin Avenue or the Friendship Store on 38th Street and 3rd Avenue in Minneapolis. More at seward.coop. Welcome
back to Food Freedom Radio, where we plant the seeds of change. I'm Laura Hedlund, and we've been talking about the Minnesota State Fair. And again, we have an air quality crisis or notice today in the Twin Cities. There's fires, there's floods, there's red tides. There's so many environmental problems. And food is deeply, deeply connected to this climate crisis. A 2018 recent study from IATP, which is Local and Grain, reports that the 5 largest meat and dairy corporations combined are responsible for more annual greenhouse emissions than Exxon, Mobil, or Shell, or BP. And if you want to read that report in its entirety, you can go to iatp.org. And also, Cornucopia came up with a new report about how organic milk is also being taken over by the dominant players, and it's and that hopefully is going to be the topic of our show next week. But what we need is an organic revolution, and an organic revolution is the future of food for the world. You know, and I just read this great article from Bob Quinn. He's an organic farmer who also will be a future guest on Food Freedom Radio. But he talks about a major shift is happening right now in agriculture, and he points to areas in India. In one state, 100% of them converted to organic, 65,000 farmers. Another area with 1 million smallholders converting to organic and saying no to the Roundup industrial system. But here's the quote that I love is the goal of the Green Revolution was to feed the people of the world. The goal of the Organic Revolution is to nourish the people of the world and to heal the earth where we live.
That's cool.
Doesn't that give you goosebumps?
Yeah.
Yeah. So connect this to the State Fair. The State Fair is the heart of Minnesota or horticulture.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things about the State Fair that you think about is you're not thinking necessarily about healthy foods at the State Fair. You know, it's like fried butter on a stick.
Right.
But one of the things that, but just because, you know, I think holistically we can think about food in so many different ways. It's part of our culture. It represents our values. You know, you come to the table with your family at dinner, and I love that the quote about nourishing, because that's what food should be doing. And I think that's what we're trying to do at the Minnesota Eats exhibit as well. You know, one of the things that we put together there is a table that just has chairs around it. And throughout the last few years, you know, the exhibit's really been in place since 2016. We see people just sitting and having a conversation, and sometimes it's a quiet spot for people to get away from the hubbub of the rest of the fair, which is, you know, so exciting and fun. But, you know, I think it's important just to have that space for community and the space to think about, you know, how are we impacting both our own bodies and the environment.
Right. And Lynn, that's the work of Spark Y, too.
Yes, absolutely. I love the idea that at the common table, everyone's able to come together and see all of these sustainable measures in such a contained space and really learn about so many of these different topics so quickly.
That's cool. And so, Lynn, I know we only have about 5 minutes left in the show. Do you want to tell people how they can learn about Spark Y if they don't go to the State Fair? And
Yes, absolutely. So as community outreach coordinator, we have several initiatives that are starting up to get you involved. We have volunteers in our urban agriculture lab who help harvest and plant and take care of our plant and fish maintenance. In addition, you can visit us on the web at spark-y, that's the letter y.org. You can learn more about us there. If you'd like to send us an email, feel free to use that contact form on the page, and we will get back to you right away.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Lynn Hugh with Spark Y for joining us. And we've got a few more minutes here. Anna Waugh with the Common Table of the Minnesota Eats building. So, again, set the stage of the hours that this is open and what's happening.
Absolutely. So it's open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day except for Monday on Labor Day, and then the building closes at 8 p.m. that day. We have a lot of really cool people to talk to, like Lynn, like Rob, who we spoke to earlier, who will be there throughout the week. The schedule will be posted on our website at commontablemn.org, as well as links to that will be on our Facebook page, so you can find us at Common Table. And, you know, I think the best part of it is really you can just come and hang out for a few minutes, learn something, see something cool, take that away, and then, you know, continue throughout the fair, seeing everything else that's, I mean, so amazing at the fair.
Everything is so amazing. And so the times that Food Freedom Radio is going to be there is August 23rd from 3 to 5, August 31st from 3 to 5, and Labor Day from 3 to 5. We will be there more times, but that's, sort of the official times. But we'll be hanging out there and trying to get people to just talk about ways of cooking that honors water and soil and how we make this huge transformation that we need to make if we want our babies to have babies and their babies to have babies.
Yeah.
But if we don't want that, then, stick with the zombie soil, So let's talk more about, so another big thing that you're doing there is emphasizing the reducing waste. Because waste is so tragic. I mean, in a time where so many people are hungry, we waste so much food.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that as we were researching this exhibit that was so surprising is just to think about all of the food that gets thrown away before it ever even reaches the supermarket shelves. So everyone loves a perfect carrot. How many spears are in a carrot? 1, right? That's actually not true. If you ever grow your own carrots, a lot of those carrots come out with 2 or 3 kind of attached. It's, you have what we call ugly food.
Right.
And ugly food tastes just as good as beautiful food.
It does.
And so thinking
last time
about...
when I was at the farmer's market, the farmer I offered me some, these aren't as perfect. So he gave them to me. I was like, yay. I made great sauces out of that one.
Yeah. Well, and I think, thinking about what does food look like, we can change the way that we think about what is a perfect food. And also thinking about, I think one of the easiest things for a person at their home is making a list before you go out shopping. I mean, that's reduced the waste in our household by a lot. Just thinking ahead, what recipes am I going to be making this week? What do I need for those recipes? How many times am I going out? Maybe tonight I'm seeing friends, so actually I don't need a meal for tonight. And kind of planning ahead.
I'm going to get back to that song from Aretha Franklin on respect, because I don't have much food waste because I respect the food.
Yeah.
I don't want to throw away. I don't want to throw away people. I don't want to throw away food. I don't want to throw away planet.
Yeah.
So I thank you so much, Ann.
Thank you for having us on. And again, we're just so excited that we're at the fair. So thank you to the Minnesota State Fair as well.
Yeah, thank you to the Minnesota State Fair. Yay, yeah. Wonderful. And thank you for listening to Food Freedom Radio. Let it burn, let it burn.